Madhura. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Can you hear
Great.
me?
Yes, I could hear you too.
Awesome.
I am very excited for this live discussion on product execution.
I know. Me too. Thank you for collaborating with me on this.
Yeah, so I am curious because when you and I first got together, we were kind of thinking about ways to give back and just be uh, friendly PMs with each other to help the community. What made you decide to put together a webinar on product execution questions?
So honestly, out of all the PM interview type questions, execution is my favorite. It's very data oriented, metrics based, and sometimes very tactical. The stuff that you can actually work on. It's not very abstract, right?
Yeah,
So it's one of my favorite questions to actually solve in general inside outside of an interview setting as well. So
yeah,
I thought, yeah, maybe I should probably help people out by talking about the execution questions.
got it. So for folks who are tuning in, um, tell us where are you dialing in from? We are. So I'm in the Bay Area. Madura, you're also in the Bay. Okay, so it's our lunchtime. What about folks on the call? Put it in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. Hello, hello. We're happy to be here too. Thank you for dialing in. Bay Area, San Mateo. Perfect. So we're not too far from each other. I am in Mountain View. Wow, we have Seattle. Hello, welcome. Let's see.
You have somebody from Taiwan.
Whoa, no way. Hello, our neighbor in San Jose. Taiwan, my hometown. Welcome. It must be really late right now or super early in the morning. I'm so excited. Oh, Marisha is joining us from Menlo Park. Okay, cool, cool. Well, I'm so happy that we're here to spend this hour together. Let me go over the agenda really quickly. First, Madhura and I will talk about the different types of questions you would get in an execution interview, and we will give a high level description of what each of these questions mean to you as the candidate. And then we will go into a quick exercise on how we go about setting goals for Calendly. This is not a mock interview between Madhura and I. This is me and Madhura having a conversation about what Calendly goals might look like and what metrics we would set as goals if we were the PMs at Calendly. And then after that exercise, we'll talk about 2 additional ways that we could provide support for those who might need additional help tackling execution type of questions. And then at the end, we will do Q&A. So please save your questions at the end. We should have plenty of time because 1 or 2 shouldn't take super long. Okay, so let's get started. Madhura, tell
Yes.
us about the different types of questions we might see in a product execution interview.
Right. So product execution interviews can be very broad. So they can range from a variety of questions. So there are main, I think, 3 to 4 categories of questions. The first one is goal settings or metrics. So what this means is if you are a PM for product X, what are the goals that you'll set for the team? That is sort of the type of question. Um, or you're the PM for say Google Docs? What are the metrics that you will track? How would you determine success? So those get into the proper data and metrics and tracking sort of type of questions. The next category is actually debugging. So a metric like increased or fell in the last week, how would you debug it, right? So for example, for Facebook reels, if the users number of users who view reels in the last week fell by like 2%, so some question of that sort. Those are the debugging type of questions. The third type of questions are actually sort of behavioral, but they tend to actually try to gauge how do you execute on a given project. So they may include stuff about stakeholder management, or they may include stuff about a project that you have done that you had issues with, and then how did you come out of it. So it's sort of behavioral, but it is also asked in execution. So these are, I think, the main 3 to 4 types of questions that I have come across for execution interviews.
I want to add another one,
Hmm.
which is trade off.
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
trade off is where we're trying to make a decision between A versus B. It could be a product decision. And how we go about making that decision. Now, in this particular interview, it's not talking about the process in which you go make the decision, but more about you have to actually make the decision and tell us why.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So these are
Yeah. There's a
the
fourth type. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
okay.
Debugging as in root cause analysis. Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
debugging as in why this particular metric got affected this way. So so it's sort of like you have to very systematically attack this question. So yeah. So that's exactly root cause analysis. Yes.
Root cause analysis. So it's basically we saw this metric go up. Why is that? Or we
Yeah.
saw this metric go down. Why is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How would you go about finding out the root cause?
Correct. 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 Yeah.
Great. So, um, with that overview, let's get started with our quick exercise on goal setting for Calendly. And actually, you know what? I forgot. We forgot to do intros.
Oh yeah. Let's do the
Let's do
introduction so that
intros.
we have
Yeah,
more people.
you go first.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Madhura. I'm a senior product manager. I worked at eBay and PayPal for most of my career. And happy to be here to support anybody on their interview journey. And happy to be here with Nancy.
I'm super happy to be here too. My name is Nancy, for those of you who I don't know yet. I'm a PM coach. Recently decided to do coaching full time and I'm super excited to have the opportunity to host webinars like this, and give back and just meet new people. Great, let's get started. All right. So, the way I like to tackle goal setting questions is with kind of a mini framework. So, first, I like to talk about what the product does,
Yeah.
what is Calendly, why, uh, why, why does it exist?
Yeah.
And then next, I like to look at who uses it
Yeah.
and what does it mean
Yeah.
for
Then we
them.
can also go over the main use cases of Calendly, like
Yes,
what situations would you use Calendly in?
yes. Um, Before I go too deep, though, I like to
Mhm.
first just hypothesize top line success way in the beginning,
Mhm.
right after I think through what the product does,
Yeah.
um, before I go too deep.
Right.
And then after that, now I go deeper. So
Yep.
I look at the flow and I use the flow to help me organize my metrics
Mhm.
instead of just, okay, start thinking and brainstorming 10, 20 different metrics.
Yep.
Okay. And then after that, I like to think in terms of leading indicators and
Mm-hmm.
lagging indicators, and ecosystem metrics if relevant.
Yeah. So there's
What
one
do you
more
think?
thing that I usually add to this is
Mm,
basically what life cycle is this product in? Is it like newly launched? Has it been on the market for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? That can actually, because of that, your goals might be different at different
mm.
times. Your Uber goal might be maybe the same, but your short term versus long term goals might change.
Yes, I love. So lagging indicators to me are typically in the long-term goal category,
Yeah.
and leading indicator to me is the short-term goal. So I love that. I love that it's using different words to describe the same thing. So it's
Mhm.
useful to know
Yeah.
that these actually mean very similar concepts. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start with the first step, which is let's think about what Calendly does
Yeah.
and why does it exist. So it to me it helps people meet meet up without a lot of back and forth.
Yes, exactly. So Calendly also puts the onus on the person who's scheduling the meeting instead of the person with whom the meeting needs to be scheduled. Like once I open my calendar, it's up to that person to just go and pick a time that works for them. And that makes everything very straightforward.
Yeah, so the
So
guest the guests. Okay.
guests, yeah.
Guests. No, wait. Actually, I don't know if they have a group sign up feature. Okay, I'm gonna keep it simple for now, and let's assume now it's only one on one
Okay,
right
let's
now.
assume
Okay,
it's
okay, I'm gonna
one.
assume that. So, okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna call that out. Assumption for one on one meetings,
Yeah.
because I'm not sure how group meetings work. Okay,
Yeah, I don't think they do, but I'm not sure. We
yeah.
we could we could keep it one on one for to make it simple. Yeah.
Okay, let's also assume it's a B2C use case, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how um, I don't know the B2B side, and I don't know if they have a B2B
They do
business.
have a B2B. So
Okay.
what happens is bigger tech companies buy packages from Calendly, and then their internal recruiters use it Calendly to actually schedule time with potential candidates. So that is one of their B2B
Oh,
to C
okay. Got it, got it,
sort
got
of
it.
use case. But
Okay,
that is one. I'm pretty sure they have other B2B sort of use case as
got
well.
it.
But for this purpose, we can keep it only B2C.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this like side note, it's important to call out your assumptions
Yes.
to help the interviewer better like follow your thought process. Okay, so why does it exist? Is because imagine, or not imagine, but remember back in the day when we had to set up meetings, it's okay, I'm available here. What about you? And then you write back, oh, that slot is gone. What a lot of back and forth for people
Hmm.
who are not sharing the same calendar system.
Yes.
Okay, so
That you
there,
you caught the nail right on the head because it's people who don't share their calendars. For them, it's like a nightmare to
yeah.
actually get time like together. So that is actually the main selling point, I think, the main sort of differentiator, as we call it,
Hmm.
for this product. Like it
Right.
is calendar agnostic.
I love that. I love that. I'm gonna write it down. Calendar agnostic. Okay, great. So with that, now that we know why it exists, I can hypothesize their top line success, which is something along the lines of um, helping people meet up easily.
Hmm.
And if I were to translate this into
Hmm.
a metric, it would be number of people who who successfully meet up
Yeah.
via Calendly. just super top line. So I'm going to just put a pin here, and I'm going to call out that, okay, I'm going to just put this as the top line goal for now, but of course I'm going to go through the more detailed flow and
Yeah.
then see if it still makes sense.
Yeah.
The deeper I think it might change, but let's just go with this for now.
Yeah. Makes
Okay.
sense. Yes, let's do that.
Okay. So next, I like to think about who uses it. First, we have the host,
Yes.
who sets up Calendly, and then we have the guest. That's pretty
Correct.
much it.
Yeah.
So with that, now I'm going to go into a user flow. So first thing is the host sets up Calendly. Then the host shares link with guest. Then guest finds a good slot. Guest books a time. And then they meet.
Confirmation. They say they get a confirmation email.
Sure. Books and then confirm.
Hmm.
Oh, let me just be specific. Guest and host both receive confirmation that the booking went through, because there could be an error, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so they meet. Yay! So this, to me, number 6 is success.
Correct. And this is like the happy path, basically.
Yeah, this is happy path. Okay,
Yeah.
so then because the meeting is success, like they're able to meet up and it's very frictionless, and both are happy. What happens after that is the host continues to use Calendly, and then the guest might also become a host.
Yeah.
A host on Calendly. The flip side of this is something went wrong, it's not user friendly, then they leave the platform. They choose another booking system. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So this is pretty much a very high level user flow. Now that we have this flow defined, we could go in and define metrics for each and every part of this flow.
Yes. Let's do that.
But before we go super deep, though, I do want to just circle back, because we already said up here that number of people who successfully meet up via Calendly is a success metric. It still makes sense to me, even though we called it out really early. And I also want to call out that this is a participation rate type of metric. And then I always like to look at the volume metric in addition to participation rate.
Yeah.
Which in this case would be number of successful meetings.
Yeah. We could also have like generally number of hosts, number of guests sort of metrics, but we could get to that when we get there.
Actually, I think that would just be, when we step through the flow, it will just naturally come up. And that's why I like to start with the flow, because then it'll help me organize my metrics.
Makes
So
sense.
it's not a random list.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So let's start from the top then.
Yes.
Assuming I have maybe 20 minutes to go through this exercise, I'm going to step through every single part of the flow. But if I don't have, let's say, 15-20 minutes, I might not be very detailed and specific.
Yeah.
So this is where I ask the interviewer. I could step through the flow and define metrics for each section of the flow.
Each level, yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So assuming yes, then I'm going to say number of hosts sets up Calendly, then it will be number of hosts.
Yes, number of
and
hosts.
then number of calendars.
Number of calendars, yes.
Yeah.
This is just pure volume.
Yeah. So the first one is a participation metric, and then the second one is volume. So I'll always use this format to be consistent and organized. So it's very important to stay organized in this interview. So it's not random.
Yeah. It actually clearly outlines your thought process, and it sort of also gives you a rough framework so that you don't go off track.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. So host shares link with guest. I think it's the same number
It's the
of.
same. That's the same. Yeah,
Yeah,
we,
it's the
we
same.
didn't
Okay.
have any different metric there.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna skip that.
Yeah.
Number three, guest finds a good slot.
So that's like a meeting. Is again. I don't think this is separate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then
For that.
I'm gonna go down here to number four. It would be number of number of guests
Yeah.
who
Who
booked.
successfully find slots?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who booked? Yeah.
And then number of mm, meetings scheduled.
Yeah. Correct.
So
So
again, participation and volume.
correct. So then
Yeah,
we would also take care of the uniqueness factor. So it's not like one guest is booking 100 meetings. We can actually have
correct.
look at see whether it is 100 guests booking each meeting or it's just one guest booking 100 meetings. We ideally want the other one.
Right. That makes sense. All right. So let's go down. Confirmation is the same. It's basically the meetings got scheduled successfully. So I'm going to
Yeah.
skip here. But of course, I could say, mm, I could do like a tracking metric or a operational metric, which is,
Mhm.
I don't know, error rate or something like that. If I wanted to track the health
Yeah.
and like how stable the system is, but it's not going to be a very key metric for us.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. This is mainly to for debugging if we need it.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna go down. Number six, we already said this is success, which
Yeah.
is also the leading indicator.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going into more of a longer term type of outlook on the success
Mhm.
of our product, assuming the host had a good experience and they continue to use Calendly. That means we would have a number of active. This is basically our active user.
Active. Yeah. Users. So
Yes.
active users, we can define it by week, by month,
Yeah.
all the frequencies.
So here I'm thinking meetings can happen on a daily basis. So I'm going to
Mhm.
choose DAU.
Yeah, DAU. But
So
I
this
think
is,
weekly also might be okay because
yeah,
yeah, we should anyway track
yeah,
at all levels. So
yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so this is the participation metric. The
yeah.
volume here would be number of active. This is interesting because I know that Calendar has a free version, right? In the free version, you can only have one calendar or one, what do you call it?
One calendar. Yeah, one
One.
schedule.
Let's just call it one calendar.
One
But if you
calendar,
if
yeah.
you upgrade,
Yes. Then you
then
can
you
have
can
multiple.
multiple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here I'm going to say, um, this gets into the long term monetization. So assuming every host is happy, they're
Yeah.
going to convert into a paid user.
Yeah. Number
Okay,
of
so
reviews.
now this is a monetization. So
Yes.
like super lagging indicator.
Yes. Then revenue
Yeah.
again.
So then the volume would be something like ARPU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to tell
Then
do you want to tell what ARPU is?
average revenue per
Per user.
user.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then number two is the participation metric. Number three is the volume.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Let's
then
see.
here the total volume would be total revenue, like total, just overall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true, true. Total revenue. All right. So then number eight, guest might also become host. Then they'll just become an active user.
Yes, correct. So this can actually be one of the retention metrics.
Love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Love that retention metric. Um, is there a difference between active user in this case versus active account?
So active user, so in this particular case where the guest becomes a host, they become a paid account holder,
Not
right?
not necessarily. So they could become a account. Oh, you don't need an account to book a Calendly meeting, right? But to be a host, you need an account.
Exactly. So once they
Okay.
become host, you become
Yeah.
a paid member, right?
So
So
no, they're not paid yet. They could be a free user.
they can be a free user.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So again, it's the same metric as number seven.
Yeah.
Basically, if the guest who was not a
Calendly
Calendly
user. Yeah.
account user
Yeah.
account holder, then they can become one. So
Yeah.
again, so this is also DAU.
What I think is, if you are a host on Calendly, it doesn't matter even if you're paid or a free host, you automatically become one of their power users of the software, because as a host, you will use it more. If you are just a guest and using Calendly, you might not use it as much.
True, true.
So I'm pretty
Yes,
sure they want to convert most of
correct.
their guests to hosts.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, basically, this also gets into kind of like
Hmm.
net new user, which is also like growth.
Yeah, growth. Yeah.
Okay, so we already covered leading indicator and lagging indicator. So I'm going to remove it. Anything else that we missed?
Mm, I think we have a good comprehensive.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just summarize.
Yeah,
Our success metric slash North Star in a short term period would
yeah,
be number of people who meet up successfully
yeah.
via Calendly, and then number of successful meetings. This
Mm-hmm.
is our leading indicator, which is short term success.
Yeah,
Longer term, that's lagging indicator. We're
yeah,
looking at DAU, paid
yeah,
users, ARPU,
yeah,
total revenue, etc.
yeah,
So basically, the message I want to get across here is don't just say DAU is the
yeah.
success metric, right? We want to first showcase how we understand what the product is,
Exactly.
and we're
Why
thinking
it
about the
exists? What is the
right.
differentiator? So
Yeah.
your goal would be a metric that measures the differentiator.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. And we also need to kind of call out that we understand success can be measured in different points in time.
Yeah,
Short-term success metrics are different from long-term success, and we want to explain
yeah.
what is short-term versus what is long-term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then the other thing I want to call out is ecosystem metrics. In this case, Calendly is a product on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But let's assume if it's part of an ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
like Google Workspace or something like that,
Yeah,
then there will be an ecosystem that we also need to pay attention to. What does that mean? It means Calendly is part of a suite of other products. And
yeah,
I'm going to assume there will be, seamless integration. And I'm going to assume that some people enter the suite from Calendly and they end up adopting other parts of the suite.
yeah, yeah,
So then I will look at how Calendly grows the the suite
yeah,
like longer term.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that would be um, so in this case, this is a business tooling. So it would be active accounts, Google of Google Workspace,
Yeah.
and then of course we have the volume, which would be
Volume,
revenue.
revenue. Yeah.
Yeah.
My other point would be, after ecosystem metrics, I think we should talk about the not non-happy path metrics, because
Mm.
we wrote the happy path of the user flow, but there are non-happy path user flow metrics that we should track. They probably will not be our goal metrics,
Yes,
but we should
tracking metrics,
tracking metrics, exactly.
not goals. It's
Yeah,
very important to specify.
yeah.
Okay, so this is where we're tracking things like errors
Errors,
or churn,
churn, yeah,
people
or
leave the platform.
cancellations,
Yes, cancellations.
reschedules, cancellations. I think all of those.
Oh, reschedule. So yes, Calendly has a nice reschedule
Yes,
feature, right? So
yes. But then it also
basically,
opens up the door to abuse. If you have way
oh
too many reschedules on
yes,
the platform, it's not a good experience.
yes, yes. True, true. It's not good for either party.
Right.
Okay. Um, what else? What else should we be tracking here? Maybe resurrected
We,
users.
so we use Calendly a lot for our It's sort of Calendly, right? And the issues that we come up across where people don't show up.
Mm.
So
No
like,
shows.
no shows.
I don't know if that's Calendly's fault though.
It's not.
It
It's
could
I
be
mean,
like they could put in more reminders or something like that.
yes, and but the other thing is, um, how would they know? Like, would they know
Ooh,
that there's a no show?
they wouldn't, would
They
they?
wouldn't. Yeah,
Right. So
unless
they
it's
could
just
do their
impossible.
best. So
Yeah,
that they could do good reminders.
yeah,
They could create a
yeah.
blacklist if someone
So we cannot
continuously.
track no shows because we
True.
won't have the ability to basically track
True.
no shows.
Can't track this.
Yeah,
All right. So I think this is a good place
place.
to
Yeah,
stop.
yeah.
Don't worry, I know we have a lot of comments, but
Hmm.
we'll get to it. Don't
Yeah,
worry,
we'll get there.
we have time. We also want to tell you additional ways that we can support you when you're thinking about execution prep. Tell us about your session that's coming up, Medora,
Oh
on
yeah.
take
So
home prep.
yeah, so very similar to this one. Rutuja, Katerina, and me, we are actually going to have a session on how to crush your take home assignment. And this is the QR code for that. And please register for it. It's a free session. It'll be a very similar format. We'll go over what are the different types of case studies that you may get and how do you solve them. So if you want, please go ahead and sign up for that. It's the QR code is right here.
When is it taking place?
So this one is on June 30th.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Friday. It's between 12 to 1 Pacific, so like lunch
Oh,
hour, same
okay.
time.
Okay.
So yeah. So it will talk about much more in depth about a take home assignment. Like I think we've realized that now it's a norm in this market to actually have take home assignments, and it's not always easy to have like a polished presentation that will but it's that will actually impress people. So we want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to actually be able to present your best work. So please go
Are
ahead
you
and
going
register.
to work through an example take home
Yeah,
assignment?
we will take a sample case study and we will walk
Cool,
you
cool.
through it. Yeah,
Ooh.
so hopefully you will learn for that one
Oh,
as well.
cool, cool. Do you have an example of um, what the question might be that you'll be working on?
So we are trying to still come up with a proper prompt. We have a few options, but we're trying to see which prompt most people would resonate with. So
Oh, okay.
we're trying to still pick the prompt for the sample question, but it'll be one of the questions that either one of us had got or
Mm,
one of our friends had got in their interview. So it's an actual prompt. Most likely, it'll be an actual prompt.
got it. And is the output a presentation?
Sorry.
Is the output of that assignment a
Yes, yes.
presentation?
So output of that will be like a presentation, or we just go over like how would you go about solving this. I don't think we will have the time to go to the entire polished presentation in
Right.
like 45 minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
but we'll go over how to actually basically how to create that presentation for you from that.
That's cool. There is another variation of take home test, which is not really a take home. It's they give you the question or they give you the prompt, and then they give you 45 minutes to work on it. And then they like circle back 45 minutes later.
Wow, I didn't know that. Like on the
Yeah, it's
spot.
an on the spot. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Well, so the pro of doing that is you don't end up spending 5 hours.
yeah, but I'm telling like at least in my experience, I think right now more and more companies are actually giving take home assignments. They say that don't spend more than 3 to 4
I
hours, but
know.
it just doesn't work that
No.
way. You have to spend a lot more time, and especially if it's their product and nothing that you know about as much like from an external point of view, that's like the hardest thing. So
That actually, I have so many mixed feelings about that. I understand the intent, but if they ask a question on their own product,
yeah,
that's not my most favorite
I
way of
agree.
testing it.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
but for myself, my last take home assignment, I spent over 8 hours on it
Yes.
because it's a presentation.
Yes.
And so it's not just about coming up with the material, you also have to practice the
Yes.
presentation. You have to
Yes.
build the deck.
Yes.
And that's why I spent over eight hours. So basically, I remember I had to take time off from work
Yeah.
to
I
work on
I
it.
actually utilize one of the weekends to do it, and it has to be very, it had to look super polished
Yeah,
with proper, like, design and aesthetically appealing,
I know.
everything. So it's not
It's
easy.
not
It's not easy.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't
So
think companies actually pay for your time. No,
they
sorry.
don't.
No,
No,
they
they
don't. They don't.
don't.
So,
Yeah, this is the system that we are part of. So we can offer support, but we can't
yeah,
really
that's
change
what.
the system in this point in time. But
Yeah.
when we are interviewers, we will be
Yes.
mindful of this
Mindful.
practice.
Yeah.
Okay. The other uh, way of support that Madhura and I have planned is a full course on
Mm-hmm.
product execution, and it has 4 modules actually. Um, Basically, it's what we kind of started this webinar with, a high level overview of the execution interview.
Yeah.
Today we only covered one part. I'm trying to pull up the image because I know it's super super tiny. But it's going to have 4 modules,
Yeah. So
and
basically, the debugging module, it'll have the goal setting metrics module, it'll have the trade off module, and we'll have the behavioral module, and we'll have a Q&A.
yes. So okay, I found the image. Give me 1 second just to pull it up. Yes, and this will be 4 live sessions.
Yes.
um, we would go through another goal setting and metrics module, and then debugging and trade-off, behavior questions, and an office hours Q&A as the 4th session. The QR code is on the screen. If that is something that you're interested in, please scan and let us know. The date is TBD because we want to make sure the timing works for people
Everyone.
that are
Yeah.
interested. So we want to also hear from you
Yeah.
on how you want this course to be structured, and then we could customize the right cadence
Yeah.
for the group that is interested.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could have, like, spread it over like a week,
Mm-hmm.
one hour every day, or we could have it on a weekend, whatever
Yeah.
works for
Yeah.
all of you. So
Correct.
work wise, everybody has different pressures. So we are flexible.
Yes. So go ahead and scan the QR code for more information. I hope there's a link to sign up for a call with us
Yes,
somewhere on this page. Okay, great,
there is.
perfect. So you could schedule a call with either myself or with Madhura if you're interested in the course, and we would love to hear from you.
Yep.
Now let's take questions from the audience.
Yes.
Let me pull up the chat. Ooh. I love that people are resonating with take home assignments. What is it? Oh, I'm just going from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Question from Katie. Advice on how to not spend too much time on them would be great too. They could start to stack up. Yes, they can. Um, it's the personal choice, right? If I know they're expecting a presentation,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't prep for it ahead of time, I'm going to be a mess. But that has to do with just my personality. I In order for me to feel confident and comfortable, I have to prep. So for me, there's no way around putting in not just the time to do the assignment, but also to do the prep.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually the same for me. I have to practice talking. Also, you may think it may come easily to me, but it doesn't. I've spent a lot of time talking to people, talking in front of an audience, and it's something that you'll get with you. I'm much better at it, but than I was few years back. but it's something that you'll get with practice. So advice on how, so if you are having multiple case studies, you will know that once you have an overall framework, you won't spend as much time in them. It's very challenging when it's a product that a company owns, because you
Oh,
will
yeah.
have to do a lot of research for that particular product, and honestly there is no way around it. If it's more generic, then you can still actually spend lesser time, I would think. Maybe it's something related to product that you like and stuff like that. If there is a case study related to that, then it's slightly different. But if it's a product that the company owns and they have all the internal knowledge about it, then honestly there is nothing much you can do about it.
Yeah, I had a case where it was to design like a new feature for a product, and
Yeah.
I had to. Well, good thing they have a freemium version, so I had to create an account and go
Yeah.
into the product and play around with it. And then because it's design a new feature, I didn't want to just talk about what it would
Yeah.
do. I created wireframes, like this whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So
Yeah,
at least you had that option. For me, I
true.
have B2B product. Like a B2B, there is just no way I was going to get my hands onto a B2B product. It's, I was just like researching online on
I
how this
know.
product works and just looking at that. That was the only way.
Yeah. Lots of love going to you, Katie. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna scroll up. Tracking number shows could
No
be.
shows.
Oh, sorry. Track tracking number tracking no shows could be a feature to understand the user perception about Calendly. If there is a higher number of no shows, this could mean people are not taking the software seriously. It could also signify if this is happening for any particular it's cut off segment. Yeah. Um,
So
this.
Calendly would be a third party platform, right? How would you track a no show? They would not, unless you are using like a Google Meet or a Zoom link that Calendly owns. And
Yeah,
in that, they will have to track and see if both the users
show
joined
up.
into that particular link at that particular time. You wouldn't know. And I think
Um,
Calendly does give you an option to put your own video conferencing choice of software. So if you do use that, then they have no insight into how actually you how a no show would show up.
Yeah. So if I work at Calendly, and if this is a sticky problem and it keeps on happening, to improve the user experience, we would have to build our own video conferencing tool.
Yes.
Like a competitor, Cal.com, has a booking system and it also has their own video conferencing tool, which makes sense now that I think about it. Because
Yeah.
at first, like, why would they do that? But it makes sense. Now it's end to end, and then you could
Yeah.
track your better
Exactly.
user
Exactly.
experience.
Yep.
Makes sense. Okay, going back up. How come it's not showing? I think there's a little lag. There we go. Counter metrics are used to not over index on your North Star. It's a guardrail, yes. Um, in this particular case, I couldn't think of a good example of a counter metric.
Hmm.
Usually, a counter metric would be you're cannibalizing another part of the
Yeah.
platform. So you're kind of looking at one particular feature and not the product overall. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So countermetric is usually something that you can track in like a Facebook ecosystem. If
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to improve reels, you should make sure your feed or something else doesn't go down. Right?
I I just thought of an example. So because we know Calendly is a freemium has a freemium model, right?
Yeah.
They that means they would have to balance free users
Free
versus
users and paid users. Yeah.
upgraded
Yeah.
paid users, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
features they give to the free user will be
Mm-hmm.
obviously limited, but they if they keep on limiting it,
Mm-hmm.
the hope is more people will convert to paid. But if it's too limited, people just drop and not use
Not
Calendly.
use.
So
Yeah.
in that case, the counter metric, like if the the goaling is around having more paid accounts and more
Yeah.
upgrades,
Yeah.
then a counter there would be cancellation and churn.
Cancellations. Yeah. Yeah. True.
Okay. Are the tracking metrics the same as counter metrics? No. We just answered this question. So tracking metric is where you are understanding, let's say, how healthy your funnel is. If your funnel is leaky, for example, the counter metric is when you're cannibalizing another part of the business. Anything else you want to add to that, Madhura?
No, good.
Okay. What about the funnel to subscription? Yeah. So what is their funnel to subscription in this case? It would be they like the free version, they need more features, then they need to upgrade to a paid
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
So then they would need to track number of paid accounts
Number of paid
going
accounts.
up.
I
Yeah,
think
and
their
then like
main
the
revenue
percentage.
stream, yeah, the percentage, yeah. I think their main revenue stream is B2B. Like
Mm,
they do make money from B2C, but I think the chunk of the revenue would usually come from a B2B sort of
mm,
uh,
okay.
stream.
Um, but yes, so let's come back to the B2C use case. A funnel to subscription in following our framework would be the lagging indicator portion of success.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking at lagging indicators, it's long-term success, which typically is monetization. Then we would need to track if that funnel is healthy. And I don't know what is considered healthy, like in terms of upgrade percentage but that's actually a good metric to track is how many of the free users actually end up being the paid
Yeah.
user.
Yeah. Yeah.
10%? I don't know.
I have no idea. We have to.
Okay. Um, Here is another question that is related to monetization. How do we identify loss of revenue? So this is churn.
Yeah.
And churn is,
Paid users who no longer pay.
yeah, yes. And that would not be a success metric. It would be a tracking metric.
Yeah.
However, if the company initiative for that year or company initiative for that quarter is let's minimize loss, let's
Yeah.
minimize churn, then this would be our primary metric,
Of course.
depending on the company initiative.
Yeah. So that's why the life cycle of the product becomes very
True.
important in this situations.
Yeah. Going up.
Yep.
Oh. What is the prompt of this exercise? Are you being asked how you would improve Calendly or what goals are important for this product? The prompt typically is, as a PM of Calendly, what
Goals.
goals would you set for your team?
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's framed as how would you define success?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same question, but using different words to ask the same question.
Yeah.
There we go. Should the metrics be confined by time? Yes. But this is also not a very big portion of the interview. It's one portion, but it's not the emphasis. So let's say, because Madhura and I actually discussed using day or week
Yeah.
as a success metric,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the interview is not necessarily going to fail you just because you chose week
Yeah.
versus
Exactly.
day. Like that's not the interview. The interview is you start with understanding what the product does, and then you have a systematic way of setting a primary metric. and you also understand there are secondary metrics.
Yep.
And you have to justify what is primary and what is secondary. What is the difference?
Yeah.
And then you also understand, let's say, supply and demand in this case is primary on the supply side or primary on the demand side. Okay. Here's another one. These indicators, lagging. These indicators provide insight into historical performance and can be used to assess the overall success or failure of a product, while leading indicators are forward-looking.
I don't know if this is a question.
No, this is a response.
Okay.
Lagging indicator as a historical performance, not necessarily historical looking. It's just a longer term metric. Obviously, so in our example, lagging indicator is monetization. But it is so far out in the future. If your success depended on it, you would have to wait a long time
Yeah.
to measure success.
Yeah.
So I like our framing of describing leading versus lagging. Leading is more short term and lagging is more long term. Okay. How would you answer a feature implementation question, like implementing a universal search for an app?
You mean
That would,
goals for a universal search for an app?
I don't know, but this reads like a product sense question.
Yeah. Like if it's like if they want you to have like a um, to develop new features or come up with some solutions, then that
Yeah,
is product sense. That's not
yeah,
execution. And if
yeah.
this is basically if you're asking like what is the way, how would you set goals for a search engine for an app or search for an app, then that's an execution question.
Yep. Okay. So I like this question a lot. How would you
Yeah.
run an exercise like this if you didn't know the product? Then you
Yeah.
ask.
Yes, you ask.
Ask the interviewer what that product is. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
can't define success.
Yeah. You ask them what the product is, you ask them what it does, you
Yeah.
ask them the user flow. You can just ask them all these questions. Obviously not one after the other, it should be a conversation. But please feel free to ask them because it's you won't know all the
Yeah.
products for sure. A lot of the times the interviewer will change the product to a product that you know in case you don't know a product that they ask questions about. So if you don't know, please tell them that I don't know anything about this product. Can you tell me about this product or can I have a different product? Either way, then let them pick what they want to do next.
I have a suggestion on how to ask this question. So when I ask, it's not just an open-ended question. I would say, I don't know what that product is, but it sounds similar to this other thing that I might know. Is
Hmm.
it similar to this?
Yeah.
Then that way, at least you're being proactive, you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to work together and not just, oh, I don't know anything about it, tell me what it does.
Hmm.
Did I go through all the questions?
I think there is one more that Dave has asked. The user flow metrics definition.
Are you able to highlight that? Do you have that capability,
No,
Madhura?
I don't
Oh,
think I have. Let me.
because I can't find it. Oh, I found a good one actually. So, is it worth building a meeting room system just for tracking no shows? So, this would be a trade off question. You're basically trading off two decisions. One is how important is it to track no shows, and is building a meeting room system
Mhm.
the right decision? So this is something that we we'll cover in the course
Yeah.
because this is a different type of execution question. But basically, what you want to do is you need to analyze both options, option A and option B. And then you would align it to your overall goal.
Mm-hmm.
So the formula and the framework for this trade-off question is how does option A ladder up versus how does option B ladder up, and then pick one that ladders up better.
Better. Yeah. It has
Yeah.
to be the same currency essentially that you are measuring both against.
Oh, you ping me a question.
Yeah. I pinged you the question that.
User flow metric definition was great for an existing product based on user engagement. How would you adapt? What kind of metrics would apply to a product that does not yet have clear solution? For example, an AI or a self-driving car. Let's pick self-driving car.
Mm.
Um, so first we start with why does a self-driving car exist? What's the purpose? So if I were to think out loud, it would mean no error, less human error. Um,
Efficiency.
Efficiency, people don't feel anxious driving. There will be
Yeah.
less angry drivers.
Yeah.
No accident. Okay, less
Yes.
accidents, right? These are all benefits or quote unquote so-called benefits of
Mm-hmm.
self-driving. And then of course, if that would also mean we don't need to each have a car,
Yeah.
then we don't need to have parking lots.
Yeah.
Then we could use the parking lot for other purposes and build houses and businesses instead of having parking lots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would start by talking through what is the purpose of the product.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to make an assumption that this company exists to remove redundant cars on the street. Then, if that is my mission, then my success metric will be number of cars removed.
Yeah. Or we could also actually, the self-driving car industry is so nascent right now, right? I would even say that number of successful trips without any assistance.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. Leading indicator.
Yes, exactly. Leading
Yeah.
indicator. And just because of the life cycle, as I said, of where the product is in terms of maturity.
Yeah, I love that. So short term benefit versus long term
Mm-hmm.
benefit
Mm-hmm.
is how
Yep.
we go about setting goals.
Yep.
Okay. I think we have question. Well, we have time for one more
One more.
question.
Yeah.
We have a question from Sanjay. How would you define yourself as a product? So I think this is a product sense question and it's outside the scope of this discussion, Sanjay. But we can host another webinar on product sense.
Yeah, we can do a product sense if there's enough interest. We can definitely do one on product sense.
Okay, let's answer a real question.
Yeah.
Do you have specific framework you follow to answer execution questions? Yes. So we actually covered this in the beginning when we started. The framework is you start by talking about what the product does.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it exist?
Mm-hmm.
And you use that to
Use it.
hypothesize your North Star metric.
Mm-hmm.
And then you step into the user flow.
Yeah.
This is all before you come up with detailed metrics.
Yeah.
When you have the flow, then you use the flow to organize your metrics.
Yep.
And then when you're stepping through and coming up with the metrics throughout the flow, you're also adding more commentary. For example, is this a participation metric? Is this a volume metric? Is this leading? Is this lagging? Is this a counter metric or is this an ecosystem metric?
Yeah.
So that's a framework we would use and recommend.
So the framework will differ based on what product execution question it is. For a goal setting question, this is the framework. We plan to go over the frameworks for different debugging, trade off, and all of that in our detailed course, anyways.
True.
So yeah, so it'll just differ. Same for behavioral. You need a framework even for that.
Great. Wow, we're at time. This hour just flew by.
Right?
It didn't feel like an hour to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing you in our future sessions.
Yep.
And we also love to hear from you. We want to make sure these sessions are useful and helpful. So if you have any requests or suggestions, let us know.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madhura.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.